This is HighIntensityBusiness.com with Lawrence Neal, helping you achieve your health and fitness goals. Become a great personal trainer and build your high-intensity strength training business.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention HIB, that's High Intensity Business, in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you place an order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter HIB in the How Did You Hear About Us field. Lawrence Neal here from High Intensity Business. I hope you're doing well. So this is just a very quick introduction for my podcast with Dr. Doug McGuff, episode 262. I recorded this a while back, probably a couple of months ago now. It's a really, really good podcast, but I had to reevaluate a lot of my episodes lately to make sure that they make sense following what's happened with this crisis. I just didn't want to release content that wouldn't be useful right now. And so I've paused some of that, and that will be coming out later. But this one is certainly an exception to that. This one is full of some interesting stuff, as always, from Doug. And if you're like me, whenever Doug does a video or features on someone's podcast, I am one of the first to listen to it and post a comment. In this podcast, we started off with just having a general catch up, which is always really nice to understand what's happening with Doug, the ER. Obviously, all of that is now gone crazy for him with the whole crisis, I'm sure. But back when we recorded this, we talked about his YouTube channel, how that's growing really successfully, and how excited I am for him for that channel, because I think he produces such great content. I'm sure you agree, and we all want to see him do more of that. And we talk about one of his latest theories regarding the optimal stimulus for muscle hypertrophy and related to contraction volume, which is super interesting. I had only just really had a baby when we spoke. I think Arthur was something like 2 months old, something like that. And so I was struggling with balancing, raising a newborn, training, recovering, managing stress, all of those things, eating properly. So Doug gave some great insights on how to get this done in that specific context, which was very helpful to me. We talk about his new Medx medical devices and what he's experiencing in terms of training with those, and obviously how he's implemented that in his business and training clients. And then at the end, we do talk a little bit about HIIT Business Studio success. I think it's easy to listen to my podcast and think, if I'm not achieving the heights of Luke Carson and Discover Strength, I'm not successful. And that is not true at all. And Doug and I talk about that, and Doug just gives a really good view on, if you're making a living, paying your mortgage, feeding your family, training people, helping people improve their health, then that is something you should be very proud of. And I 100% agree with that. But obviously, hence why I'm recording this intro, because I feel like that's a little bit not that useful to hear right now of everything that's going on. And so I just wanted to caveat the episode with this introduction and to let you know that we do talk about that towards the end. Anyway, I said it would be a quick introduction. So without any further ado, please enjoy this podcast with the one and only Dr. Doug McGuff. Lawrence Neal here. Welcome back to HighIntensityBusiness.com. This is episode 262. Today's guest is Dr. Doug McGuff. Doug McGuff is well known as the co-author of Body by Science, a research-based program for strength training, bodybuilding, and complete fitness in 12 minutes a week, and also the Primal Prescription, Surviving the Sick Care Sinkhole. Doug practices full-time emergency medicine with Blue Ridge Emergency Physicians and owns Ultimate Exercise, where he and his instructors continue to explore the limits of exercise through their personal training of clients. Doug is one of the leading experts in high-intensity strength training and provides consultancy services to help you achieve your health and body composition goals, set up a home gym, or start a high-intensity training facility. Doug, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Lawrence. Good to be back. Got to say, I've been enjoying your podcasts, and I've been enjoying the business membership. It's just a freaking gold mine. It's like getting to go to rec every day of the week if you want to. So I've really enjoyed it. It's been a great resource for anyone that's trying to run a shop. It saves you from feeling so lonely all the time.
Thank you. And just for everyone listening, I did not ask Doug to say that. So he said that unprompted.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And so everyone knows is like it's not something that Lawrence gives me. I pay for it. So it's well worth the price.
Thank you, Doug. I really appreciate that. I really enjoyed obviously building that business and being able to just collaborate with lots of people and provide as many useful resources to help people with their business as possible. So it's really nice to hear that you find it helpful.
You probably got the best education of anyone in the field because you get to talk to everyone.
That's it. Yeah. So, it's been a while since we've done a podcast together. I got to meet you at Rec, which was a lot of fun. That was Rec 2019. Wonderful presentation. How did you find it? Did you enjoy attending Rec last year?
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, we all are very niche type people. And when we get spread out across the country and across the world, in our prospective locations, it's pretty lonely. You're like the only person doing this sort of thing, and you're kind of a outlier, and you're just doing the day by day. When you actually get to be in a room with all these people doing the same, it's just like landing on the island for misfit toys. It's just like coming home again, and it's really cool to see everyone and realize that people are doing this all over the world, and everyone's successful at it. Everyone's, they're making money and making a living and feeding kids and paying for educations off of this. And it's not like, you're selling, chicken nuggets and high fructose corn syrup to people. I mean, they're doing this, making a living and providing the best benefit health-wise, I believe, that is out there, bar none. And it's just the coolest thing to see all these people doing this cool shit.
Yeah, I remember you saying before you gave your presentation at Rec, your keynote, I think you kind of prefaced it by saying, I am more nervous than ever because I am delivering this presentation to some of the smartest people in strength training.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I get to go before an audience like that. I'm super nervous. Not because I think I'm going to say something stupid or get called out, but because I just have such admiration for someone that's able to do this. It's just really important to me that I give something of value to all these people that are out here doing this thing that, I dreamed of doing and that I enjoy doing and that I think needs to spread across the world. So it's just, I'm just speaking to really brilliant people doing a really important job. And I just want to, it matters to me that it comes across good.
I loved I think we all had the early morning workout, obviously before that. And, you were talking about how you're struggling to put your tie on due to fatigue caused by some of the manual resistance done during that workout, which was so entertaining.
I got on my knees in front of the bed and propped my elbows up on the edge of the bed to be able to tie my tie because I couldn't keep my arms abducted long enough to get my tie tied because they totally gassed me out with those manual resistance. It was lateral raise, rear delt, front raise. I was so damn smoked. And whoever administered manual resistant tricep at the very end of the circuit is like, they were smart to put that there because you didn't have to do much work on me at that point. I mean, it's a pretty easy job by the time you get down to the end of that.
I think that was Logan that had the pleasure of administering. Was it?
It was like the easiest job in the world, dude.
That's brilliant. You were saying there about obviously your own studio, and you're involved in so much, Doug. I mean, you've been running Ultimate Exercise for years. You're still working in the ER. You're doing your consulting business, your YouTube videos. A long time ago, I asked you, Doug, what's the long-term goal? Are you going to transition? And all these years later, you're still doing it all. So what's happening? Are you quite happy to juggle them all? Or are you still trying to make that switch?
And what happens is that emergency medicine is kind of like the mafia. They just keep pulling me back in. So part of what happened is, as a subspecialty interest in emergency medicine, going way back to the beginning of the field, I developed an interest in emergency ultrasound. So I was one of the kind of early adopters of that technology. And now about years back, practice got bought out because the hospital system got bought out by a larger hospital system that ended up having an emergency medicine residency. So in the process, I got made faculty in that residency. So I'm now an assistant professor, the University of South Carolina School of Medicine in the Department of Emergency Medicine. And then they made me ultrasound director of my hospital because I was, the one that had those particular skill sets. And now I've been made assistant. They've started up a fellowship training program to train emergency physicians in emergency ultrasound. And I've been named the assistant director of that. So they keep, cool crap keeps popping up that keeps sucking me back into it. So, you think, damn, I'll get out of this crap and just do exercise. But then other cool things pop up and you just end up keeping all the ball.
So I missed that last bit.
Facility. It's still, yep.
Sorry, Dave, you cut out that for a few seconds. Just that end bit.
Yeah. So, they started a fellowship program in training emergency physicians to subspecialize in emergency ultrasound. I've been named assistant director of that program. So I keep getting drawn back in because of other cool things that are going on. But facility's still going strong, and I still love it. It's my happy place. And I still think that I'm doing more good for humanity and the 120 clients that we move through that facility every week than anywhere else in my life. So I'm still psyched to be doing it all.
And you've got your YouTube channel, which if I'm not mistaken, I had a good look at your subscribers the other week, and I said, I'm going to just look at that and check that back in a couple of weeks. Your subscriber base is growing rapidly, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with the recent talk I gave at IHMC down in Florida. For whatever reason, that talk was really well received. And since it went up a couple of months ago, it's now like at 132,000 views. Wow. And the consult business has blown up after that. And interestingly, the little blurb I gave on mTOR on the YouTube channel, those two things, the consult, I open up a day of consults and it books solid. So I think that lecture may have had a big effect. I'm not certain if other things might not be going on out there in the interwebs that I wasn't aware of. But for whatever reason, it is blowing up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really cool to see. And I as well as I'm sure many of the listeners, really, really enjoy your YouTube videos. Like I don't really subscribe to much that I care about via podcasts, which might be funny for people to hear, or YouTube or anything really. And you're one of the few where when you do a new video, Doug, I'm right on there. And I'm one of the first to comment. And do you know what I've even done? I don't know if you've seen this, but I've got one of my partners to code an automatic syndication so that whenever you do a new video on YouTube, it gets syndicated into the membership under its own category. And there's a list of all your videos in there.
Well, I appreciate that. That helps the viewership a little bit for damn sure. That's really cool.
Yeah, I doubt it helps as much as obviously what you get on YouTube natively, but it's just I enjoy being able to obviously share that in there and link to it and comment to it and things like that.
Let's see, I got an iPhone XR, I think. And that's what I've been recording on. And I ordered a microphone for it, just to improve the sound quality and stuff. And it comes in, and I'm like, damn it, if what I ordered will not plug into this phone. So I got to find another microphone to bring the quality up a little bit. I know it's very amateurish.
It's got better. It's got much better, I think.
It's gotten better, yeah. But I tell you, sometimes when the videos are really high quality, as the quality goes up, I become more suspect of the content. So I'm kind of I'm kind of using that as my excuse to keep it crappy, because the quality of the video may be inversely proportionate to the quality of the content. So I'm just going to try to deliver good content and let the rest fall where it may. It's all I got time for, really.
Yeah, fair enough. And no, keep doing it, because I just really enjoy the videos. I think it's just you and probably Sky Sports, Premier League football, the only ones I really actually pay attention to the latest videos. So in one of your recent videos, you started talking about, and you knew I was going to come on to this, you started talking about a theory around kind of maximizing hypertrophy outcomes. And I was very intrigued by that, as I'm sure many others were. You were talking about, I guess, greater contractions leading to more coupling and uncoupling cycles in the muscle filaments. And I just love to hear you elaborate on that a little bit. Maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah. And, theory is probably even too strong a word to use for something like this.
Okay.
It's just kind of extrapolated observational experience with my knowledge of physiology saying, maybe there's something to this. Because, one of the first times that thought came into my head was when Brian Johnston came out with J-reps. And one of the arguments for it was like, let's say you take a barbell curl and you divide it into thirds, doing the middle first, next, last, is that the total work done in terms of force times distance is the same as if you had done full range reps. So let's say you're doing zones of 8, 8, and 8. Well, those zones are divided into thirds. So in terms of force times distance, it's the same as if you had done just 8 reps. So workload was the same, but the number of contractions that you got was tripled. And when I tried J-reps, I did note a hypertrophic response to that. And I've also found that if I am seeking a hypertrophic response, things that I do that increase the contraction volume, whether it's just doing a set to failure and then doing my, you've interviewed Borg Forelli or doing something of that protocol, or just doing a rest pause type things where you're accumulating a certain number of repetitions so that you're getting up around the 25, 30 total rep range, I do find that my hypertrophy response when I increase the contraction volume seems to be enhanced. And I'm not certain why that might be. One of my theories is that one of the signals for hypertrophy may be just the calcium flux that occurs through the sarcoplasmic reticulum during the contraction cycle. So the coupling and uncoupling requires calcium to influx through the sarcoplasmic reticulum to activate the relaxation phase. And I'm thinking something about that chemical signal, maybe something that moves the hypertrophic response further up the priority line in terms of the potential adaptations. So, at the REC conference, I talked about hypertrophy being at the bottom of Pandora's box, in that because it involves expensive tissue, it is the adaptive response of last resort. So I'm thinking there has to be something in terms of a minimal amount of volume in terms of number of contractions that will prioritize hypertrophy as an adaptive response above other things. So that's kind of my theory built into that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But if I do strict super slow, I get a very good stimulus from that. The inroad's dramatic. The feeling of it is very dramatic, but the hypertrophic response does not seem as great to me as when I'm including higher reps. And I'm theorizing, is it just because the volume of contractions is therefore necessarily less? But it's not even theory, it's just speculative. And it's just me farting around with myself. It's not anything I'm endorsing as a protocol adaptation. But for the audience that you have and that we have, putting it out there amongst my colleagues and seeing how the debate hashes out is interesting to me, because there's people with a lot more observational experience than I have that might be able to contribute. I mean, I run my facility, but I'm not doing all the sessions. You got some guy that's training 100 clients a week for 15 years. He may have some empirical data to impart to the rest of us that may help us to figure this thing out. So that's kind of my thought behind even putting it out there. And I put it out there with some trepidation, because you know how this crap can blow up in your face.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I was going to come on to that. Have you had some sort of adverse reactions from the Super Slow devotees?
No, not really. Not directly. You can see some of the discussions, if you just look under the comments section on some of this, you can kind of get a sense that, ooh, I may have really upset some people or pissed some people off. I'm certain that people that are really hardcore devotees, people in the Renex camp and stuff may not be too happy because they feel that my presence in the field has significant influence, and to speculate in this way is irresponsible or something of that effect. But, I've come to the point where I realize that protocol, equipment, those sort of issues are not the rate limiting factor in all of this. So a willingness to experiment for desired outcomes is just kind of what keeps me in the game and keeps me happy. And I, unlike John Little, I am not happy to just say, okay, now we're just maintaining. I always want to get stronger. I always want to get bigger. I always want to have better body composition, look better. Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit that I'm 58 years old now. I still want to push the envelope for improvement. It's just kind of in my DNA, and I'll do anything to tweak it. And if someone turned around and was able to demonstrate to me that I needed to do high volume training 5 days a week, I would do that. I don't think that's where the answer is, but I am happy to explore the periphery and see what might be at play.
Yeah. Now, what is the rate limiting factor, just for those that might be curious about the answer to that?
Well, I think the major rate limiting factor is one's genetics, and what your response is going to be. I mean, at the REC conference, I peeled that picture off Simon Shawcross's website of him and Jay Vincent sitting next to each other. And the caption for the slide was same exact protocol. I mean, their training could not be more similar, but the phenotypic outcome is completely different from them because they have a different phenotypic expression of their genotype. They respond differently to the epigenetic signal. And that is the rate limiting factor. I mean, it's lucky sperm and egg club, really. Also of consideration is there is a lot more going on, beneficial, that is not aesthetically evident, that may be a preferential adaptation, and hypertrophy being an adaptation of last resort and of lowest priority in the vast majority of the population.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things you mentioned just now is how you've noticed in making this change, better hypertrophic response in yourself. I'm really curious how you measure that, because I know that sometimes it can be really difficult to actually identify a increased hypertrophy in yourself, based on your own perception of yourself, or maybe if it's transient hypertrophies. How do you actually know that?
I don't. That's the honest answer. I don't have a DEXA scan. I don't have a bod pod. I don't track shit. I'm not a tracker. I am like the antithesis of Peter Attia. You are never going to find me wearing a continuous glucose monitor. I don't ask questions to things I don't want the answer to. But in regard to your questions, like, yeah, it's just looking at myself, looking in the mirror, photos, and probably one of the most sensitive things is like you throw up a YouTube video and people go, "Damn, doc, looking good. What you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. You're kind of like, yeah, I'm barking up the right tree here, you know? And I can see it in photo. I can see it's like, looking a little spindly there. And then other times it's like, yep, now I'm going in the right direction. And usually, Lawrence, the right direction is just to be following a protocol for a certain period of time. And then it starts to peter out, and then tweaking or altering the protocol so that it represents a change from baseline. You know, John Little said something to me. I was pacing around in the driveway talking to him one day, and he goes, "You know, Doug," he said, "everything works, but it doesn't work forever." So the thing is like you pick something that works and you do it until it starts to have diminishing returns, and then you switch it up. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a positive adaptation again. And you do that for a period of time, and then you have diminishing returns, and then you change it again. And it doesn't have to be drastic change. As a matter of fact, minimal change is sometimes interpreted by the body as something that's more adaptable than a massive protocol change. So little tweaks here and there just keep the ball rolling.
Interesting. Have you been experimenting with this at all with any of your clients at UE?
Yeah, and not me personally, but I show what I'm doing to my instructors, and then my instructors bring it to some of the clients and to themselves. So yeah, to some extent, not hugely. Most of my clients, as you'll find when you open your shop, really aren't interested in that sort of thing or following that sort of thing. But it doesn't mean you can't experiment on them and kind of make your own observations. So to some extent, yeah, but it's not like a formal experiment or anything of that nature.
Yeah. So you put out a video talking about this, which I'll link to, which was I think you said it was your 6-way split, but I only counted 5 workouts, so maybe I got that wrong. But it was a split that you have been using during a really busy time in the ER, really breaking your workouts down to focus on various body parts. And within that, doing this new approach to for you in terms of getting more contractions in your workouts. And I think you said aiming for 25 repetitions on some exercises. Now, yeah. I've been, and I'll link to the video so people get the full reference. But I actually, as you know, I've just had a baby boy, and he's just over 6 weeks old. And thank you. And that's amazing. And it's like a whole new challenge because, coming into the new year, really want to focus on new business goals for the online business as well as the studio we're opening, and also want to obviously make time for being there with Arthur and helping Ash and all of those things. So that's been a really you make plans and God laughs, right?
Good Arthur, I love it. That's awesome.
Are you laughing at the name?
Yes.
Well, here's the funny thing. So I didn't even think of that. He wasn't named after Arthur Jones or anything like that. Ash came up with the name. She loved the name. And I said, oh yeah, that name's fine. And then I announced it on Facebook, and lots of people were saying, oh, after Arthur Jones. And I was like, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
So
cool.
So I was doing I thought, well, Doug's going through it with his shifts and he's trying this workout, so I'll give it a go because maybe it'll work quite nicely in the way things are for me currently. And I've maybe it's just because at the moment, even though Ash has been amazing, like helping making sure that I get more sleep than she does, I've really found it difficult to summon the energy, even to train like very abbreviated every couple of days. I think I'm almost going to have to, just to, as Skylar would say, keep the table set. I'm probably just going to return to a once a week or twice a week kind of AB routine.
So your baby's 6 weeks old currently?
That's right. Yeah, just over.
Yeah, Lawrence, taking any sort of for optimism this time frame is just like pointless. I mean, shit. You probably got a testosterone level lower than my daughter right now.
That was true before this.
No. In terms of stress, sleep disruption, I mean, standing over a crib, watching your baby breathe to make sure it doesn't just like stop breathing, all that. God damn. It is one of the most stressful, sleep deprived, anxiety provoking times of life. Yeah. To try to see if you can optimize your training during this period of time is just, that's going to fall flat. I wouldn't worry about it at all. I can tell you this, by the time your baby reaches 12 weeks old, you're going to feel like you're on a cruise. All of a sudden that kiddo doesn't look like you're holding a rat in your hand and sleeps through the night, and you feel a little bit more settled. But mostly, when it starts sleeping through the night and things it literally feels like you got out of a prison camp and onto a cruise ship. Somewhere around 12 to 15 weeks is like, wow, this is awesome. And between 12 months and 1 year old is just like heaven. It is like the most memorable, fun time you are ever going to have. And then all of a sudden they're going to stand up and walk, and then you're off to the races again.
That's so awesome to hear. I
would just go into survival mode and not worry about optimizing for anything. This is not the time for that.
Good advice. Totally. It's been interesting because obviously, I'm a fairly disciplined person, and but ever since Arthur's come along, it's like the sleep deprivation just drives all the wrong behaviors, right? The energy deficit, and then also just the cravings for any sugary food. The
cortisol spike just drives you, man. You would freaking pound down a birthday cake if someone put it in front of you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I have been not eating as well as I usually would, and it's tough. But like you say, it's just surrendering to the reality and the current situation, isn't it? And being okay with that.
Yeah, I remember when my daughter was born. I spent overnight with my wife. The L&D was super big. I basically had to deliver my own daughter, and things got settled in the morning and stuff, and it was finally where I could head back to the house and go watch after my son, who was with a sitter and everything. And I was on the way back, and I was going by the facility. I thought, I'm going to get in on a workout on the day my daughter's born, And I remember at the end of that workout, laying on the floor of my facility, just thinking, what was I thinking? This is like the best shit ever, man. I don't know if I'll be able to get up off the carpet and drive down to take care of my 2-year-old. It's like, holy cow, this is the dumbest shit I ever did.
Oh, that's so funny. This episode is brought to you by our sponsor, ARX. Are you looking to create a cutting-edge, high-intensity training facility? Are you confused on what equipment to use or how to separate yourself from the masses? Well, then ARX Fit might be the answer you're looking for. I asked Mike Polano from ARX a few questions about how ARX machines are challenging the status quo of the exercise industry around the globe. Mike, if you could, give the listeners a quick summary of why ARX is so different from the traditional machines or tools they're used to seeing in most exercise facilities.
ARX is totally different than anything you've seen before. This isn't just another weight stack machine. We've looked at the last 40 years of exercise technology and used that knowledge to create something entirely new. ARX uses a new form of resistance, a motor, and we pair that motor with computer software so that we can maximize the safety, effectiveness, and efficiency of your workouts. So you may be asking, okay, but how does ARX compare to weights? Traditional machines you see in gyms today are based on lifting metal weights and battling gravity. What people don't realize is that when you're forced to lift a static weight like this, one that doesn't adapt or change while you use it, you're underloading yourself rep after rep. And this unnecessarily limits your ability to make improvements. With ARX, we've taken a totally different approach. We removed weights and gravity from the equation altogether. Instead, ARX combines our patented motorized resistance with our custom computer software to provide you with the world's safest, most effective, and most quantified form of resistance training ever. When you train with ARX, you are training to your perfect level of resistance, both positively and negatively 100% of the time. No more guessing what weight to use. ARX does all of that for you, instantly and automatically. We'll also track and measure every second of every rep, so you can quantify all of your workouts to find out if you're improving and by exactly how much. Whether your goals are bigger muscles, increased strength, stronger bones, or just to look good in a bathing suit, ARX can help you achieve all of these and more, but do so in a fraction of the time it would take compared to traditional equipment. If you're looking for the most efficient, most effective, and most quantified piece of exercise equipment on the market today, then look no further than ARX.
Thanks, Mike. That all sounds really impressive. If you'd like to learn more about ARX, visit arxfit.com and mention that you heard about ARX on the High Intensity Business podcast to receive an exclusive deal of $500 off shipping and installation of your ARX machines. Well, you've obviously been through it and be curious. I've made a note here, training with newborn is what I wrote. Just to really remind myself to ask, if you've got any kind of advice or tips for training, diet, trying to keep things as good as they can be during this time? I mean, you've already said some, but anything else that comes to mind? Any advice for me?
Just try to be as good as you can on the diet and avoid the refined carbohydrate cortisol trap. But the best thing during this phase of time is do not underestimate the power of a nap. If that kid goes down for a nap and you don't have something else pressing going on, particularly in the way that you're able to operate your business and your lifestyle, if you get an opportunity to take a nap, that is gold. That will do more for your recovery and process than anything else that you could do during this stage.
Yeah, great advice. I'm a terrible napper though, Doug. I lie down,
You just haven't been tired enough, but you will be.
I challenge you on that. No, I mean, look, during the first few weeks, I mean, to be honest, Ash has been great with, making sure that I get more sleep, which I'm really grateful for. But obviously, that changes tonight. He might be impossible during the early hours, and I'll certainly give her time to rest if she needs it. But during the first few weeks, I was up most evenings, sort of 1 till 3 or 4 in the morning. You sort of 2-3 hour stints, giving her a break, and do you know what's amazing during this process is just how grateful you become for the simple stuff in life. Because obviously before this, I mean, Ash and I were just me and her. We had this pretty cushy lifestyle, complete flexibility. Not much in the way of responsibilities, really. And so sleep was never really something that was valued as much as it is now, And so now it's like, when you get it, it's like, wow, it's just making you so grateful for those very basics in life.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, all those sort of things that really are the basics. It's kind of like water to a fish. But when you get in a position to really appreciate it, it's a silver lining into the hardness of it all. It really is cool.
Yeah.
For that.
Good stuff. So I wanted, sorry, go on. Yeah.
Our training, it's the most powerful thing,
Say that last bit again. Sorry.
In terms of your training and your results, it's probably one of the most powerful things we can do.
What, in terms of procreating, you mean?
No, good sleep hygiene.
Oh.
In terms of being appreciative of sleep, it does, it'll give you an appreciation for truly the impact it has on, your recovery and results is greater than just about anything you can do.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's Yeah, no, I agree. I had another thought there, but it's totally gone from my head. So if it comes back, I'll bring it back up. One of the things I also wanted to ask you about is you have recently acquired a couple of Medix medical machines, the medical lumbar and the cervical neck. I'd love to hear how that's been since you acquired those, how you've been using them for yourself and with clients and things.
Yeah, so number one, they are just cool as hell for, an equipment lover. It is just so neat to see that Arthur Jones was willing to build something of such complexity and of such mass to get after an important muscle group that's so damn tiny. It's really impressive. And when you get in the thing and you get cranked into that thing and you're really locked in and you're doing that lumbar extension and you get 3 or 4 reps in and you're like, mother of pearl, I have never felt this before in my life. This is crazy. It truly is impressive. I'm doing the medical lumbar about once every 14 days. And, you come off that thing and it's like, wow. And in the days after, when you recover, it's like, my back feels really good. It feels really secure. And the cervical extension, I have a 4-way neck, but it really taps deep, deep in a way that the regular exercise-only neck did not. So they are very impressive. They are, in terms of getting a subject in the machine and getting them all cranked in and everything set up, it is complicated and it takes some time. So in terms of how we're carving it out for the facility and training clients, we're doing it one of 2 ways. If they want to include medical lumbar or medical cervical within the body of their workout, then they have to book 2 workouts and pay for 2 workouts. Because the amount of time it takes to get, appropriately set up extends the length of the session long enough to where they're into another session and we got to pay for 2. Or they can do a standalone, spinal session that they pay at a single workout rate, but it's just those 2 machines as a separate outside their workout. So they can do their their regular workout for the full body on one session, and then a few days later in the week, come back for a second session that's spinal only. Or if they want to incorporate it into the body of their full workout, then they pay for 2 workouts. That's how we've dealt with it on a business client basis.
And have you had a large amount of interest in people using those machines and having the 2 workouts?
Moderate, I would probably say, of the total client load, maybe 20-25% are availing themselves of the equipment. So that doesn't sound like a whole lot. Maybe I could do better and maybe it's going to grow over time. But when you think about with nothing more than just the inclusion of that equipment, you've increased your workout volume by 25%. That's pretty impactful, especially when you're already doing enough workouts where you covered all your expenses and everything else is just pure profit. Raising the number of workouts you're doing in a week by 25% without increasing your client base has an impressive financial impact upon the business.
Mm-hmm. And if you, because I was just curious, you got the space, did you have to make space for them or did you already have sufficient space to squeeze those into your facility there?
When they called me with this opportunity, I thought, I can't do this because I don't have anywhere to put it.
Yeah.
And then I just started looking around, thought, I can cram this stuff together. And, I moved machines. On one side of the wall, I got one line, and on the other side of the wall, I got another line that kind of duplicates each other, and they go in opposite directions. So I got leg press for one line on one end of the facility, and for the other line on the opposite wall on the other end of the facility, and they crisscross. So I just needed to make some space between machines on both sides of the room. So basically, I took every machine I had on each line and moved them 4 to 6 inches. And when that all added up, it was enough room to get them both barely in there. I did not even know if it was going to work until the machines arrived.
I'm sure Wendy would have been okay with you just parking one in the living room for a short amount of time.
Yeah, that'd go over great. Now with teenagers each have their own. It's like there's nowhere to put shit. So yeah, I was kind of like, what am I going to do? Put this in storage, or if this doesn't work out? But it did, so I'm happy.
Yeah. Just on the layout that you were talking then, the reason you have them back to front or going in opposite directions, the two lines, is that because if you've got two clients going at the same time, you don't want them both kind of being parallel to each other at failure or something?
Now, right now, the volume of the place is still such that we're still just training in complete private. But what I've got is everything set up on one wall and an opposite wall, so that if you wanted to do a full workout with two clients going simultaneously, you could. And if I wanted to maintain complete privacy, I would just have to drop a sliding partition between the two lines, and I would still have the complete privacy if that's what I wanted to do. Or if I just wanted to have multiple clients back at a time, it would be spaced out so that as you move through the line, you might cross each other in the middle. But for the most part, you're going to be on opposite ends of the room.
And what's the future got in store for you, E? Or are you kind of maintaining things as they are with that business, or do you have any other interesting plans on the horizon?
Kind of, but I got to see how the next year evolves. So I took on this assistant directorship of this ultrasound fellowship, which is in a larger city, about 45 minutes for me, 45 minutes to an hour. It's Greenville, South Carolina, which is booming. It is a booming town in the same way that Austin, Texas is currently booming. And the amount, because I've taken on this role, the amount of clinical shifts that I have to work in the ER has gone down a bit. So I got to see how the time demands of it all hash out. But I will be over in that realm where it's like, if I want to pop open a second facility, that's something that may develop in the next year. It may not. I may just decide, this is good enough. I'm making good income from the one facility, layering in, book royalties and consultation, everything like that. I mean, I'm going gangbusters. And of all the things that I do in the exercise realm, in terms of profit margin, opening a facility probably has the least profit relative to overhead of the things that I do. So it might be much more profitable for me to use the extra days to expand the consultation business.
And now that you're getting so many more consults, it might be time to raise your prices.
Right. So, but it's possible that I might just say, golly, let's just pop open another shop over here in Greenville and start doing that too. Yeah. And really, the dual line at Ultimate Exercise currently is really kind of superfluous. It's just duplicate. So if I wanted to open a second shop, I could peel off the duplicate line out of Ultimate Exercise and just open a second shop somewhere.
Yeah. Doug, a final question for you before we start wrapping up. I noticed that your son, Eric, has been weight training and has been for a while now on Instagram. But he doesn't seem to subscribe to high intensity strength training protocols. What's the story there? Is he not a fan? Have you not tried to teach him the one true way?
Okay. Look, I mean, he has watched me train since his earliest memory. Wow. I took them down there as babies and shoved them in a pack and play, and they watched me work out. They were my captive audience until they were old enough to not have to go down there with me.
Right.
So they've seen it. They know what it is. And I put him through proper workouts. And he was duly impressed, but he freaking hates it. He just hates it. I mean, it's just like, this is torture and this is memory. And, when you're 17, 18 years old and you're suffering from testosterone poisoning and you can see results hanging out with your bros in gym, with something that, you just going for the pump and, having fun with your friends and looking at girls in the gym or whatnot, I think that's a much greater pull for him than doing it my way. And also, I think he is appropriately, for a kid that age, wanting to individuate from me and, show that he can do things his way on his own. And I encourage that. I don't, my feelers aren't hurt or anything like that. And I even go with him. I'll go down, if he doesn't have a friend to go with him and spot him and do his thing and stuff, I go with him and, I spot him on the bench and squatting and, watch him deadlift and do the things that he likes to do. But he does, the typical bro split and kind of, 3 to 5 set thing, and it's all good.
Fair play to him, and I really love that. Yeah, go on, sorry.
He's about to embark upon a life that is going to become busy, and he knows by me that to that, if he wants to really maintain, if he really wants to have peak fitness within the constraints of a real life, he's going to know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, he knows what to do in terms of the exercise and the diet. And he's good on the dietary side, and he's ripped to shreds, man. I would trade, physique-wise, I would trade places with him in a heartbeat, man. Hormonal environment right now.
Yeah, you must be very envious. Yeah, I think that's great though that you'll go with him when it makes sense and help him out and do it his way. I think that's really great.
And here's if this was happening, if I had him at this age and it was 1998 or the year 2000, I would have been this rabid hit acolyte that was just like trying to disallow any of it. I would have been that guy. It would have been not good.
Yeah.
Over the years of training client and doing this over the long term and seeing the health benefit, really what I want is I want the populace at large, and I want people and anyone I care about, I want them to lift weights. And as long as you're not using some ridiculous protocol that's going to get you hurt, I really don't care what it is. Like, lift weights, man. It is the most powerful thing that you can do for your life and your body that's out there. And the specific protocol, I have my favorites. I know what I like, but as long as you're lifting weights and you're not doing it stupid so that you're going to hurt yourself, I'm on board with that. And that's what I support. And the other thing is like, when it comes to not hurting yourself and not doing stupid things, one thing that CrossFit has proven to us, and that just training in gyms in general has proven to us, is that despite the whole hit super slow orientation that guarding against injury and treating people like they're made of china, humans are a lot more resilient to injury than we give them credit for. And there's a lot more latitude for people being able to train and not hurt themselves than we think there is.
Yeah.
Having said that, though, there are weight training protocols that are just stupid. And unfortunately, some of that stupidness is spent on some of the most gifted athletes in the world, such that these hugely gifted athletes are suffering a higher injury rate in the training room than they are on the playing field. But that's a completely different story. I'm just really, really supportive. Is like, damn, go lift weights. Go do free hand exercise, as long as it's resistance exercise and, you're emptying glycogen stores and you're creating fatigue and providing a stimulus. It's all good with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like your new tagline, by the way. I've heard you repeat a couple of times. How does it go? What was it? Movement is life, and movement with resistance is life elevated.
Yeah. Well, that kind of was the closing of my rec speech.
Yeah.
But it really is. I mean, movement defines us as a biological entity. The kingdom that falls under animals, or animalia, the defining characteristic of that kingdom of living things is movement. And without movement, you can't get food. You can't keep from becoming foods. So everything beneficial in our biology is tied to and anchored to that basic function. So movement for us is life, and movement against resistance is life elevated. That is my philosophy. And if I was going to create my traction-based mission statement about what we're doing, that would be it. And I think anyone that wants to steal it, be my guest. I would like to spread that word as far and as wide as possible.
Yeah, I love that about, I guess, your approach and philosophy of things. Are you going to be attending REC this year at all?
No, I'm not.
That's a shame.
Wasn't able to this year, so I'm going to miss it. And I really hate that because it's a cool venue to get everyone together in the same place and just watch all the bonding and cross-pollination happen. Yeah. And the thing is, like, the people that are there in my mind are just legends. They really are. Everyone that shows up to that thing is just legendary in their own right in terms of just running facilities and running shops, and it's happening all over the country. And, you just see what this does for clients, and to think that all these people are spread all over the world doing this, and then the multiplication of all of their clients benefiting from this it's just impressive. And knowing that there are people that have carved a living out of doing this is just, I have the most massive admiration for that. Because running my own shop, I really have an appreciation for what a miraculous, people think, having a business and making money has to be this huge, complicated thing. It's like, man, you do something of value. It costs some money for you to provide that. You charge some money for the value of it, and you subtract one from the other, and that number is your profit, and that's what you live off of. It's a pretty damn simple thing, but when you're providing something of value, it is awesome. It's not like selling, nuggets fried in vegetable oil and high fructose corn syrup to people and making a living. No, we're doing something really moral and good and making a living for it. That's amazing. And that's the coolest thing about being at REC, is seeing all these people that are making really good livings doing something that's very powerful and impactful.
100%. And, I completely agree. And, we were obviously talking before we went live on the podcast about this kind of thing. And you made a really, really good point there. And obviously you expanded on that before we went live, just in terms of people who have, one studio or some kind of small business and high intensity training, and they're able to provide for themselves and for their family, is an enormous success. And we should be celebrating that. And I should do a better job of celebrating that. As I know quite often on the podcast, I have someone like Luke Carlson on, and I know a lot of people really admire Luke and want to achieve a similar level of success. But I've kind of perhaps made a mistake, and I don't want to continue to make the mistake of almost looking like I'm just suggesting that you're only successful if you get to that level, which is complete bullshit. I mean, it's completely down to personal preference, and everyone's goals are their own. And I just wanted to make that very clear. I don't want to sound like I'm.
I wouldn't beat yourself up about that concept at all. I think it's just important. I mean, because what you're offering is like, it's a business membership. It's how to grow and how to scale and how to be bigger and better. But sometimes the reality of where you are geographically or the market you're in, you may try that and you may fail at scaling to the degree that Luke or someone else does. Mm-hmm. But it's not a reason to feel bad about yourself necessarily. I think, almost any geographical, I am in the worst geographic location for, being busy or growing or having a financially successful studio, but it's booming. And, whether you own a single shop, 2 shops, 3 shops, whatever, I think the important thing is that running a successful and profitable business is a difficult and rare thing in general. You do that just
Yes.
once. In my mind, you're a massive success. If you're able to replicate it and scale it, all the better. If you try that and it fails and you fall back to one facility, oh well, you're still a massive success in my mind. This is such a valuable thing that at any level that you're able to do it, I think it just kicks ass.
Yeah. I agree. And obviously with the number of businesses that fail too, just across the board, not obviously just in HIT, but I mean like, all businesses, you are a success if you're able to turn a profit on one studio for sure.
It is a six-figure lemonade stand. There's no reason it can't be that. And it can scale upward from there. That's fine. But a six-figure lemonade stand is big time successful. I mean, you can buy into a Chick-fil-A franchise and run a big, successful, high stress, high volume, work your ass off Chick-fil-A. And at the end of the year, your take home money as an owner of a Chick-fil-A may not be as good as your take home money from being a single site HIT facility owner. That's freaking amazing. And you don't have to upfront that kind of money and experience that kind of stress and that sort of employee turnover and all that nonsense. And you can lay your head on the pillow at night knowing that you're not feeding people industrial seed oils and high fructose corn syrup to make that money. That's freaking amazing. It's an awesome thing.
Well, thank you for putting it in perspective for everyone and myself. I know that in a lot of the copy or maybe the website and things I say on the podcast, the hook is often, if you want to grow your business, then join HIT Business Membership.
Yeah.
But I often have conversations with people where they might say to me, well, you know what, Lawrence, I'm not necessarily interested in scaling, but I want to maybe spend a little bit less time in there. Maybe I want to learn how to set up certain systems and processes or fill in the blank. And so
Yes.
I would say that to anyone who listens to this, who's not just intent on growing, but maybe they want to take a step back or automate something or just learn how they can run their business a little bit better in however you define better, then obviously the membership could be useful to you.
Yeah, one of the main things that listening to your everyone, I listen to every single one of them. And everyone running a shop and doing this kind of stuff, it's just like, they're just awesome. And there's something to learn from every one of them. But the one thing I can tell you since being in the membership and listening to it, the biggest value I've gotten out of it by listening to these other people and their other experiences and their willingness to share their experience, what I've been able to build is the ability to run my business rather than my business run me. Because a business can take on a life of its own where it runs you. But to listen to something, you kind of come across like, oh man, he's got an attitude, a mindset, and you pick this stuff up and you start to not be and run your business without your business running you. And that's one of the biggest things that I've gotten out of the membership. And I think that a lot of people will recognize that when I say it.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug. And obviously, I'm really grateful for the endorsement. And if people listening to this are interested in joining, please go to highintensitybusiness.com/membership, where we have, as Doug's sort of alluded to, a very high-grade community, resources and blueprints, as well as monthly Q&As with people like Doug. So check that out if you want to learn more and join. Doug, what's the best way for listeners to find out more about you these days and find out more about your consultation, things like that?
I would say, always going through the website, which is drmcguff.com, drmcguff.com. That'll hook you up to the consultation services. There's a link on the page that will link you to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Dr. Doug McGuff YouTube channel. And Instagram is ultimate_exercise_. But the website itself, the drmcguff.com website, has links to all those resources, so you can just go there and hook up to anything else that you're interested in.
Awesome. Well, Doug, look, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always an honor to get you on the show. I just love us, just catching up like this. Absolutely. And for everyone listening, to find the blog post for this episode and download the PDF resource, please go to highintensitybusiness.com, search for episode 262. And until next time, thank you very much for listening.
Discover how to achieve your health and fitness goals, become a great personal trainer, and build a successful, high-intensity training business. Check out highintensitybusiness.com. highintensitybusiness.com.
This episode is brought to you by ARX, the most innovative, efficient, and effective all-in-one exercise machines I have ever seen. I was really impressed with my ARX workout. The intensity and adaptive resistance was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I love how the machine enables you to increase the negative load to fatigue target muscles more quickly, and I love how the workouts are effortlessly quantified. The software tracks maximum force output, rate of work, total amount of work done, and more in front of you on screen, allowing you to compete with your previous performance to give you and your clients real-time motivation. The ARX uses a computer-controlled motor to give you the exact amount of resistance your clients need 100% of the time. This means that the resistance can never become dangerous, is intuitive and simple to use, and can provide you with all of the results you and your clients are looking for in a fraction of the time. ARX is highly effective and efficient in delivering all of the benefits of exercise, including increased strength, muscle mass, cardiovascular conditioning, bone mineral density, and injury recovery. As well as being utilized by many high-intensity trainers to deliver highly effective and efficient workouts to their clients, ARX comes highly recommended by world-class trainers and brands, including Bulletproof, Tony Robbins, and Ben Greenfield Fitness. To find out more about ARX and get $500 off install when you place an order, please go to arxfit.com and mention HIB, that's High Intensity Business, in the How Did You Hear About Us field. So again, to get $500 off install when you place an order, head on over to arxfit.com and enter HIB in the How Did You Hear About Us field.